Handsome men's game. Never wait for choosing signals. I want to talk a bit about how as an attractive guy, you will have to get used to asserting yourself and going after what you want instead of waiting around for women to come to you, and some of the reasons why. Now, one thing I want to say is that this whole handsome men's game subject applies to confident guys in general. You don't have to necessarily be a GQ model with perfect looks to experience some of the things I'm going to talk about, so keep that in mind. But the handsome guys out there are definitely going to deal with these issues and will want to listen to this whole video. So one of the things you'll see talked about a lot online is the idea of choosing signals and waiting for a woman to give you some kind of sign that she has interest in you. This could be anything from making eye contact and smiling to outright approaching you. The theory behind choosing signals is that it allows you to not waste your time with low interest women and only deal with women that have pre-selected you as attractive and have interest in you. In theory, it sounds good, and every once in a while you may run into an attractive woman that sends signals like this, but in my experience it is going to be extremely rare. And if I had waited for choosing signals from attractive women in my life, I'd either be a virgin or in a dry spell that has lasted many years, because that stuff just doesn't happen as often as dudes online would like you to think. The thing to keep in mind about being an attractive guy is that women will become more and more intimidated by you the more attractive you are. Because of this, you are going to trigger their insecurities and judgment of you, like I spoke about in the last video I did about how you'll be hated as a handsome man. Women are way more neurotic on average than you are as a man, and they will get in their head about details that will make them freeze or not even remotely consider throwing a signal your way, let alone approaching you. This is also definitely something you have to keep in mind if you have approach anxiety. It's like what they tell someone who's afraid of killing a spider or something. You know, people will say the spider's more afraid of you than you are of it. And it's the same thing with women. They're going to be more afraid of you as a handsome guy than you are of them, and that should give you confidence to approach. I've had girls repeatedly ask me why I'm even talking to them or interested in them as if they're levels below me or something. And this didn't come from my treatment of them. This just came from their own confused reasoning in their head from their perceived attraction of me compared to themselves and other guys that they have dated. When you start to realize that multiple women will be thinking like this when looking at you, you'll start to understand why choosing signals are rarely going to come your way. They're simply too intimidated and in their head about being levels below you. And then of course, there's also the assumption that you're a player and just get girls left and right, so they don't want to deal with the process of falling for you and then getting dumped like all the other girls, at least in their mind. Beyond the mind games that women play in their own head, you will also severely, and I mean severely, limit the caliber of women you can pull by waiting for choosing signals. I can tell you from dating some very beautiful women as well as working with some in the modeling industry that on average, the hottest girls will not approach any guy no matter how attractive they are. Many of them won't even throw any type of signal because they are depending on their positioning to attract the highest quality man to come to them. That means that the sexy photos they post on Instagram, the outfits they wear, the clubs they go to, the VIP tables they get into, etc. The absolute baddest women are masters of placing themselves in positions to where they don't need to throw signals out at any guys, let alone approach one to get what they want. It's like Ferrari or Lamborghini. Like, think about it. When's the last time you saw a Ferrari or a Lamborghini commercial? Now, I don't watch a lot of TV, but I've never seen one personally, and that's because they don't need to advertise. You know exactly where to go if you want one, and you have to contact the seller to purchase one. It's the same thing with the baddest women. They aren't going to be coming to you nor even signaling that you exist. Many will even take pride in acting like you don't exist. This is even true on a dating app like Bumble, where a girl has to message you first to get the conversation going. The highest tier women on those apps will simply just say hi or hey at most as a way to just make the conversation start. The last time I was on Bumble personally, the hottest girl I matched with sent me some prompt that we both had to answer, and she answered with like 2 letters that were a typo. That's how she got me to carry the conversation the rest of the way. I'm just talking zero effort on her part to start with, and the only reason girls like this even say anything at all is because it's a requirement by the app. Otherwise, they wouldn't say anything, period. Look at Hinge, for example. The 8s and the 9s on there aren't hitting you up with anything. They're waiting on you to send a message 99% of the time. The biggest choosing signal you'll get from a legitimately hot girl in person is just her placing herself somewhere close to your area, and from there you'll have to make it happen even if you're handsome. This actually just happened to me recently at a gym I hadn't gone to before. It was my first time there, and I spotted a girl I could tell was the it girl of the gym. She had the Instagram influencer look going on with the tiny shorts, the bra, her hair done, full face of makeup, etc. And staff members of the gym were coming up to talk to her periodically like she knew a lot of people. There was one guy trainer that came up to her with another girl trainer, and they were talking about waist measurements, and the dude asked to measure her waist because it looked so small. Like, come on, bro. Anyway, while that was going on, she kept finding exercises to do around me over and over. It was like one of those things where you're like, damn, how many back exercises do you need to do in a 10-foot area when this gym is huge and it's basically empty at this time of day? So from there, she kept doing this thing to where she would walk away to get a drink, grab other equipment, a towel to wipe down equipment, and all this other stuff. I didn't even really notice it at first until she kept doing it over and over again, and it didn't really make sense as to why. Like, you know, if you work out consistently, there's rarely a reason to just keep walking across the gym unless you're just going to another exercise. And I swear she probably took 6 or 7 trips across the gym, but every time she did, she would walk about 10 steps and turn around like she forgot something. But what she was doing was trying to catch me looking at her. Like, seriously, no joke. She did this walk and turn thing every single time. Like, come on, girl, I know you aren't forgetting something every damn time. Now, if you're a guy that doesn't have experience with this kind of thing, you probably wouldn't think twice about it. She also had headphones on and was looking in opposite directions most of the time, so most guys would think she had zero interest at all. But by placing herself around me repeatedly, no matter where I went, and trying to catch me looking at her, that was her version of throwing signals. Now, let me tell you, I could wait from now until the end of time, and I guarantee that girl is never going to approach me. That's not how this level of girl works. What she's going to do is continue to position herself in outfits that show off her body and keep her headphones on, waiting for me or another guy that will be man enough to approach her and spark up a conversation. Now, why is that? Because she doesn't have to do anything else, and that's what you need to really drill into your mind. The absolute hottest women do not need to approach you or throw obvious signals like eye contact and smiling at you. That's stuff that happens in movies, or if you're a celebrity, or if it's just a random one-off and you happen to get lucky with something like that that indicates interest, but most of the time, that's not going to happen. Hot girls also feel like they're throwing signals by doing things that are almost impossible to distinguish from actual effort or not. For example, there was a thread on Reddit not too long ago where a girl claimed that she was one of the hot girls at her gym, and she was frustrated because she had shown interest, at least in her mind, to a guy that she found attractive by asking him if he was using some equipment one time. And he didn't hit on her in return, so she was wondering why that he didn't pick up the hint that she was into him. Now, mind you, I don't know if this girl was actually hot or not, but the point to take home here is that her perception of effort and showing interest was asking a dude if he's using some equipment. In her mind, that was her throwing out signals in high effort, which left her upset that the guy wasn't getting it and approaching her. So the point is that you can't sit around and wait for this stuff, because you will either miss it because they're subtle hints, or they're completely nonsensical altogether like that girl, or women will simply be too intimidated to do anything at all, even though they're highly attracted to you. There's also the societal tradition that has been drilled into a lot of women's heads, especially Latina women, where I have a little bit of experience, where the man is to do all the pursuing off the bat. Of course, some of this falls apart when a girl is gushing over you at work or something, but generally speaking, these girls aren't going to do anything at all to signal you. Now, the upside to all of this is that the women that are legit hot as hell and high caliber rarely get any legitimate confident approaches from high quality guys, because most guys are too afraid to approach them to start with. So if you actually make the move, you will separate yourself from the pack and pique her interest if she has an attraction to you. You'd actually be amazed at how simple it can be sometimes. A guy I used to work out with approached this super bad chick one time at our gym out of the blue, and when I say super bad, I mean she was easily in the top 5 girls at this gym that had thousands of members. Anyway, he approached her just by asking if she wanted to get a workout in some time, and she actually accepted and joined us that next day. It was literally that simple. 99% of content online would say that you should never approach girls in the gym, and that his line of asking to work out together was ridiculous or not smooth or all this other stuff. But at the end of the day, he pulled one of the baddest women in our gym by simply approaching a girl that he wanted. That same girl also later admitted that she had been watching us at different times and noticed us coming and going. Keep in mind that there was absolutely zero indication of this, and this was the type of girl that kept to herself in the corner of the gym and wouldn't look at you if you were on fire because she was trying to avoid guys in general, yet she dated my friend for a bit and had a high attraction to him. As a handsome guy, you have to learn to operate with uncertainty and simply take the shot with women that you are interested in. Of course, there's certain ways to go about this depending on the scenario, and that could be another video in itself, but the general idea is that you have to go after what you want, and you can't sit around waiting for choosing signals because they may never come, and they likely won't. And as the women get hotter and hotter, there will be less and less signals. I actually find it interesting how in the men's community and with motivational content, there's always all this talk about taking life by the horns and going out there and taking what you want by force as a masculine man, but then there will also be content on waiting for choosing signals before making a move. It doesn't make any sense. Like, you're going to aggressively pursue having this badass physique, tons of money, cool lifestyle, and being an alpha male or whatever. But then you're going to sit around and wait for a 5'2", 110-pound girl who's afraid of you to throw signals your way before you take initiative and actually do something. This just never made any sense to me, and in my experience, it never plays out how these content creators say it will. Now, that's not to say that you'll never get choosing signals thrown at you by anyone, because you definitely will if you're a handsome guy. It's just that it can't be relied on, and you are severely limiting your options and frequency of getting women if that's how you choose to play the game. One more objection I've seen to this assertive approach instead of waiting for choosing signals is that it lowers your value when you approach a woman, or that it can be simpy, like you're pining for this woman's attention like she's a celebrity. And I understand where this criticism comes from, but it's all dependent on your frame. If you're a guy that gives off a thirsty aura, then yes, approaching women can make you look like more of a simp and a fan of hers than anything else. But if you have a frame that gives off an aura that you can take it or leave it, and that you're not super invested in the interaction, or that she knows other women have interest in you, then she's not going to perceive you as lower value than her just by approaching her. In fact, she's more likely to fall into her feminine energy in a more submissive state because you are so assertive. It's like the idea of paying on the first date. The same masculinity content creators that say to wait on choosing signals will also say to pay on the first date to assert your dominance as the man. In that same vein, being the first one to initiate conversation can have the same effect, because you are asserting yourself as a man that knows what he wants out of life and he goes for it. And that's what women respect. There's no downside to approaching unless your frame is weak overall. But again, frame is one of those things that would take more videos to get into, and this video is already long enough. If you want to check out some of the things I have to offer, check the links down in the description below. Make sure you watch this video next, and I'll catch you back here for the next one.